योगनाशनं कवीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्का भयङ्करं मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आञ्जनेयमदिपाठलाननं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरुमूलवासिनं भावयामि पवमाननन्दनं यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्. Namaskaram to the Astikas. Day 8, it is today. This is the first day of the Yuddha Kandam series. As mentioned time and again, Yuddha Kandam is a very, very vast Kandam in Srimad Ramayana. Often people who justify their stand that Mahabharatam should not be kept at home as a book or should not be listened to as lectures, very well are comfortably oblivious of the fact that Ramayanam's biggest Kandam is Yuddha Kandam. If the rule is because of the war you should not have Mahabharatam, then same rule should be applicable to Ramayanam as well, because this also has Yuddha Kandam. So what is the exact dharmam that we should derive out of this? That Mahabharatam is as equal as Srimad Ramayanam, and it has to be read, preserved, nurtured, professed, and should be celebrated. So that is the greatness of Sri Mahabharatam. In the Purva Charitram, we discussed how Hanuman, a complete outsider to the Ikshvaku Kulam. He was nowhere related to the Ikshvaku Kulam. The only connection that he had with the Kulam was his teacher was the progenitor of Ikshvaku Kulam. His teacher was Surya, and Rama came in Surya Vamsham. That is the only similarity. But there is no other similarity or no other connection that he has with Ikshvaku Kulam. He was from Karnataka, Rama was from Uttar Pradesh, Sita was from Nepal, and he ends up finding Sita in Lanka. So the geography was the only thing that may have brought them together from the peninsular country to the island country. Otherwise there was no connection. Despite that, what brought him closer to Rama was intense bhakti. This bhakti is what that pushed him to go on a sojourn to Lanka, spot Sita, and come back with the news that he has spotted Sita. So this bhakti in Hanuman is so much important, but it is a twofold bhakti. When he left Bharata Desham, he was Rama Duta. When he came back from Lanka, he was Sita Bhakta. The changes were two. From Rama, it turned Sita. From Dasa, Duta, it became Dasa. So what is the difference because of being a Rama Duta and Sita Bhakta? Because of being a Rama Duta, he got a blow from Simhika. He got a blow from the immigration officer Lankini. He was reprimanded by Ravana in the court. But what was the gift, reward that he got because of being Sita Bhakta? He got Rama Alingana. So now we have to comfortably choose whether we have to be Rama's Duta or Sita's Bhakta. See, the problem is not with Rama or Sita. The problem is in the position. Hanuman held a position called being a messenger. A messenger is still like an envoy, an ambassador. So that is a job. So he called himself as an ambassador of Rama. But later, when he had to undergo all the events in Sundarakandam, later he thought, It is always better to be in no position. I will be a bhakta. So that simplicity and humility, he had vidya. Now he had vinayam. Vidya dadati vinayam. The moment he got vinayam, he became Sita Bhakta. The moment he became Sita Bhakta, he got Rama Alinganam. Ramachandrasya dasoham Shri Sita Nayakasya Guru Guha Hidasya Ramachandrasya dasoham Samadana Bhedadi Chaturasya Samadana Bhedadi Chaturasya. So, Muthuswami Dikshitar mentions what are the benefits of being a Rama Sita Bhakta. Hanuman came. As soon as Rama embraced Hanuman, comes Yuddha Kandam. Ityuktva Priti Krishtango Ramastam Parishaswaje Hanumantam Kritatmana Kritakaryam Upagatam. Sugriva then consoled. See, Rama couldn't control his emotions. He started shedding tears. Now it was an admixture of being happy and sad. Happy because Sita was spotted. Sad because he couldn't see Sita in person. So it was a combination of mirth and melancholy. So at that point in time, Sugriva comes. See, why are you crying? I don't know, Rama. Earlier you were crying, you couldn't spot Sita. Now you have found Sita, you are still crying. Look at me. I am so calm and composed. Labha, labho, jaya, jayo. In your next avataram, you are going to talk in Bhagavad Gita how seasoned one individual should be. I am like that. When I lost my wife, did I cry? So, kim tvaya tapyate veera yathanyah prakritasthata maivam bhutastyaja santapam kritaghna iva sauhridam. Rama doesn't answer. When you want to escape some redundant and irrelevant argument, it is better you keep quiet. And silence is not even golden, at times it is platinum. See, even in this situation, you are all keeping quiet. It is me who is talking. Now, Rama was in Malyavat Parvatam, which is, again, the geography is, he has not come down to Ramanathapuram district to construct the bridge. He is still in Bisibedebad, Karnataka top, Bellary. So he has received the information that Sita is housed in Lanka, and Hanuman tells this information, and the monkeys were in a different state. They have all gone to their houses because for their wives it was a big thing. The husband has visited a foreign country. Those monkeys, they have gone to Lanka and come. So they were asking, what is there in Lanka? What did you buy for me in Lanka? They said, see, as such, Lanka has come to IMF. What will I buy in Lanka? So, Rama had to spend that night. See, situations in life will so much so. Probably you're visiting your children. If your parents in India, living in India, who are visiting your children in the US, or if your children in the US who are visiting your parents in India, the day before you fly out, that night there will be some kind of an excitement that you're going to see them. Hope the baggages come on the day when we reach. Hope the flight takes off at the right time. There will be small doubts, small confusions. Similarly was Rama's state. He knew Sita was there in Lanka. Whether she will be alive. She has already mentioned to Urdhvam Masana Jivishe Hanuman. In 1.5 months time, if Rama doesn't come, he has to see my body. So Rama doesn't know, first of all, where is Lanka. He knows it is in the southern direction. How will he take all the 70,000 monkeys there? Most of them don't know swimming. How he is going to take them there? How is he going to fight? How many days is the war going to last? There is one war which has been happening for the last 5 months. How many days it is going to last? Will I have that kind of my power, the missiles with me to fight, because we are going to a foreign country. Ravana will have necessary equipments to fight. Will I have? But over and above that, now Sita knows that Rama is going to come. But she'll be now doubtful where he is. She also doesn't know the exact geography. So that night was a very, very different night, says Valmiki. Now, how did he spend that night? Next day, Valmiki says he got up, he discussed with Sugriva. Then they all went southwards, marched southwards, and then they did Prayopavesham, and then with Samudra Raja's permission, they constructed the bridge. This is what Valmiki's Yuddha Kandam tells. You will have to be very vigilant in Ramayana Upanyasam after a super lunch break. See, in school days, if you have geometry class or some chemistry class after lunch break, similarly is Ramayanam today and tomorrow. I saw somebody, many people carrying glasses, have some hot cup of tea and come. Even now there is time, you can go. So, Rama had to spend that night. Valmiki doesn't talk above this, over and above this, how he spent that night. This one line of Valmiki is enough, stating that Rama had to spend that night thinking of Sita. That line was taken by Vedanta Deshika and developed into a poem of 110 verses called as Hamsa Sandesham. This is how poets used to work. They were all called Shastra Kavis. They will use Ramayanam and Mahabharatam. They will use that plot. They will not make huge differences to the plot. Within the given scope, they will show their poetic ability. I'll give you an example. Dushyanth Maharaja, don't think I'm speaking about myself, because his name is Dushyanta, he's again and again talking about Dushyanta. So Dushyanth Maharaja, he goes to the forest on a hunting expedition. That is when, while he is about to hunt a deer, one person comes and stops. His name is Vaikhanasa. He tells, please do not hunt this deer. Ashrama mrugoyam hantabyo na hantabyaha. This is the deer of the hermitage. You know, you have these protected species, right? Like this is a protected species, you should not kill. Dushyanta honors. In those days, kings were also obedient. So he says, okay, I will not kill. That time, Somatirthe gataha kanva maharshehe, maharshi Kashyapaha, Kashyapa putraha iti Kashyapaha. Kashyapa means of Kashyapa. So, Kashyapa Kanva Maharishi has gone to Somatirtha. Somatirtha is one Tirtha. Now don't ask me where is it Somatirtha, somewhere. So, Somatirthe Gataha. But Aditheya Satkaraha Prakriyata. Why don't you come and accept our hospitality? Then Dushyanta asks, who is there in the hermitage to attend to me? His daughter Shakuntala is there. The moment he heard Shakuntala, he was a teenager, the king. So he thinks, okay, let me go see Shakuntala. And then begins a story of him meeting Shakuntala. Then there is a bee that comes. As such, she is very much afraid of bees. She goes behind, she falls into the hand. Then there is a background music. All this happens. Avadai Parthu, Unnai Parthu, and all that. All these songs come. We have seen so many of that. They run around a tree, behind a tree, before a tree. All this happens. And then finally, in the absence of the Rishi, there are 8 forms of marriages, Ashtavidhi Kalyanam in Dharma Shastra. One of that is called Gandharva Vivaham. If the girl and the boy are mature enough to make their own decisions. Now, I'm sure you should all appreciate, Vedic civilization was much ahead of what we can think of it. If the girl and boy are mature enough to make their own decisions, they can get into a relationship even without the Vedic rites. Now don't take this, some intelligent Mahanubhava will chop only this 10 seconds of my discourse. That will become viral. Upanyasaka says it is okay to have no marriage. That will keep circulating, and next day boycott Dushyanth, hashtag trending. What? I'm nobody to recommend. Who am I? A primitive mortal. I'm just telling you, in Ashtavidha Vivaham, there is a Vivaham called Gandharva Vivaham, pure love marriage. So, they get into a relationship, and eventually she turns pregnant, and that is when the Abhijnanam, the Anguliyakam is given. Later, I did mention this, I think, on the day of Kishkinda Kandam, I mentioned, while she was completely lost in the thoughts of Dushyanta, Durvasa comes and curses. Katham pramattaha prathamam kritamiva, like a person who was in a drunken state, fails to fulfill and upkeep his promise, so shall the person whom you are thinking of now will forget you. Complicated. He didn't say you will forget. Whom you are thinking of now, he will forget you. So then she goes, as she is pregnant, her father gets to know that the daughter is pregnant. He says that I will get you married to Dushyanta. You take Gautami, your foster mother, along with Shargarava and Sharadvata. 2 days back, the movie that I have produced and directed called as Shakuntalam, the first time ever a Sanskritam movie is made on Shakuntalam. 6 times Shakuntalam has been made. Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil. It was made in Tamil in 1940. M.S. Subbulakshmi donned the role of Shakuntala and the man was G.N. Balasubramaniam. From 1940 it began. Even now Samantha is going to play. 7th time, 2nd time in Telugu, 2 times it has been made in Hindi, once in Malayalam, once in Kannada, with all great people, N.T. Rama Rao, Dr. Rajkumar. But it has never been made in its original language. See, imagine Silappadigaram being made in Greek, Mandarin, Swahili, but not in Tamil. So it's not made in Sanskritam. So a huge group of people, talented people. We have a 5-time National Award winner called B. Lenin, who is the editor, 2-time National Award winner Lakshmi Narayanan, the audiographer, 1-time National Award winner Pattanam Rashid as our makeup chief. We have a Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar awardee Dr. Rajkumar Bharati as our music director. We have Life of the Pi sound recordist as our sound producer. We have it was a big project for us during the pandemic. We procured khadi from Gandhigram and we have dyed it in all natural colors through indigo leaves, beetle, turmeric. We have used only khadi throughout the movie. Handcrafted jewelry, and we have shot them live at 4 archaeological places of Chalukya, Hoysala, Vijayanagara and Pallava architecture. And we have showcased 30 ragas of Hindustani and Carnatic style on 10 traditional instruments, and we have used 95% of the dialogues are in Sanskritam, 5% in Prakritam with English subtitles. Songs, we have used 2 lines of Tirukkural in Tamil, 2 lines of Kshetraya in Telugu, 2 lines of Padam in Malayalam. Then we have deployed Yakshagana in Kannada. We have used movements of Bharatanatyam, Odissi and Kuchipudi. So it was a huge project where we thought we could make it a fulcrum of national integration. But it's been released on the World Sanskrit Day for the 75th Independence Day. India was not born 75 years before. It is an age-old civilization. But from the colonial rule, when we thought that no thanks to the colonial rule, and we said, okay, you can go back to the place where the sun wants to set or never set. You go back, we'll manage ourselves. So it's been 75 years since then. We are celebrating, the country is celebrating 75 years of independence from the colonial rule. So we thought it befitting to release that time. But having said this, it's been released in India now on an OTT platform called Book My Show Stream. You can ask your parents and your relatives or your kith and kin to pay, rent and watch. So a lot of them have been watching. So this is a Samskrita movie. Now don't tell me how will you understand Samskritam. The person who made the Squid Game didn't make it in English. He made it in Korean. I'm sure you will understand Samskritam better than Korean. So in Kalidasa Shakuntalam, Durvasa comes and gives this Shapam, and then she goes back to the kingdom. On her journey, she loses the ring. Where does that ring go? Into a fish. Where is that fish? It is being caught by the fisherman. Who is the fisherman? The one who supplies fish to Dushyanta. When he cuts it open, he finds that ring. The ring is taken by the supervisor, Shalaka. He goes to the king and showcases, and then like Gajini, he remembers what all he has forgotten. Well, this is a plot. This is all you've all studied, heard, seen this. Remember, In Dushyantha's original history, which is mentioned in Mahabharata, Mahabharata is a source for this. There is no mention of Durvasa coming and giving Shapam to Shakuntala. There is all this what Kalidasa mentions is not there. What it says is Vishwamitra's daughter Shakuntala, she was orphaned by her very own mother Menaka. She was brought up in the forest. Then she fell in love with Dushyantha. Later she goes in a pregnant state to the king. The king doesn't seem to remember her at all. This is what Mahabharatam tells. Now this portion that she falls in love with Dushyantha, she is pregnant, she goes to the king, he doesn't remember her, was taken by Kalidasa. And then in the middle he introduced Durvasa as a character, the ring, the Shapam and everything to develop that into a full-fledged Natakam. This is how poetry is born. You have to imagine. But your imagination should not change the storyline. The king did forget her. That is true even in Kalidasa's work. But Durvasa gave a Shapam which is not there in Vyasa's work. But Kalidasa would in turn ask, it is also not there that Durvasa did not give a Shapam. Correct? You are able to get my point. You can always reverse argue. So he comes. Now Vedanta Deshika does the same thing with Ramayanam. That night Rama had to spend. But how did he spend? So he had to talk. He doesn't get proper sleep. So he has to convey his message. That is when he sees, spots a beautiful Raja Hamsa. Hamsa is a mystic bird. It is believed that Hamsa is a bird. I don't know what is its biological nomenclature, but this bird had the unique ability to see milk from water. It seems. Now don't tell me if I keep milk, because milk is liquid in liquid. Correct? That is why people take the liberty to mix water in milk. You can't see the distinction. Everything turns white. It's a colloidal solution of liquid in liquid. For liquid in liquid, the only way to check if there is another solution is you have to let it boil. And then it turns into vapor. That is when you through the gaseous state. That's how we make Palkova, right? So the water goes out and then the milk remains. Now this is what a Hamsa bird is supposed to do. Whether the Hamsa bird lived or not, whether it did that or not, I do not know. But an Acharya is supposed to do that. Taking the Shastram and telling us which is relevant and important from what that may not be that relevant. Since he separates and distinguishes this content, he is called Paramahamsa. Hamsa does it with milk and water, he does that with content. So he is called Paramahamsa. Pibare Ramarasam Rasane Pibare Ramarasam. This Kriti was composed by a great scholar called as Sadashiva Brahmendra. His mudra was Paramahamsa Krita. So Paramahamsa means any Acharya who's a sannyasi is called Paramahamsa. Now, Vedanta Deshika tells that Rama spotted a beautiful Hamsa and had to convey the message. Here begins the beautiful Kavyam. I am going to take you into Hamsa Sandesham. In about 20 minutes time we will get to 20 minutes for Hamsa Sandesham. I have a big soft corner for my favorite hero called Vedanta Deshika. Whether you like it or not, you have to sit and listen for that Hamsa Sandesham. Vamshe jatas savituranaghe manayan manushatvam Deva Shriman Janakatanayan Deshane Jagarukaha Pratyayate Pavanatanaye Nishchitartha Sakami Kalpakaram Kathamapi Nishama Vibhatam Vishehe. First verse of Hamsa Sandesha. Vamshe Jata Savitu Ranaghe Manayan Manushatvam. See, I don't know how far I can convey this and describe this. We should learn how to appreciate language the way it flows. First, that is the first step to learning a language. You can never learn a language by starting with A, B, C. That is not the right way. You'll have to listen to the kavyam of that particular language. Check how that sounds to your ears. Vamshe jata savidur anaghe manayan manushatvam deva shriman janakatanayan veshane jagarukaha pratyayate pavanatanaye nishchitarthasakami kalpakaram kathamabhinisham avibhatam vishe. If you have to become a master of few languages, if you have to become a polyglot, remember the first step is do not mock any language. If you ask a person who's grown up in the south of India, who may have not had the opportunity to learn Hindi, if you ask them whether you know Hindi, they should say either I know or I don't know, or I'm learning. They will take one sentence and they will mock that sentence in Hindi. Same is the case, I've seen so many of my friends who speak only Hindi. I'll ask them, do you know any of the South Indian languages? Raskala, Murga, Ada. Then you can never learn that language. That language has an Atma in it. It will never approach you if you insult it. Then you'll have to stick to only one language. So the best way of learning a language is to never mock at it. So Sanskritam as a language can be approachable. It can come very close to you when you start falling in love with it. You express that love. Now you may say, some of them say, no sir, I have to know the meaning to learn that language. Now, how many of us are masters at recombinant DNA technology to understand what goes behind the production of a vaccine, to take a vaccine? No, first I will understand what is the structure of this COVID-19. Tell me in this particular, how is the bacteriophage? Is it a bacteriophage or a virus? How are its overall proteins? How is the ribosome inside it? Is there an endoplasmic reticulum within it? If you ask all this and then only you take the vaccine, then no child can be vaccinated. See, you give a vaccine to the child under the assumption that I did give something good to the child. Later, when the child matures and goes to college or higher education, or if he or she ends up taking biology, they will know the importance of vaccines. Similarly, learn shlokas first. Over a period of time, you may get to read about it, understand about it. Some people, only if I understand, there is no scope of learning them. Then because they'll say, I should know the language very well to understand it. Which language do we know very well? To say very well, no language we know well. So learn, appreciate that poetry. Even if you're a Tamil speaking person, listen to Amukta Malyada. If you're a Telugu speaking person, understand Tirupavai. If you're a Kannada speaking person, learn Ekanathi Bhavartha Ramayana. This is how we grow and develop value and importance for languages. Nevertheless, the first shloka goes like this. Now, he had to spot the Hamsa bird. Now he has to call the Hamsa bird. First of all, why will the bird listen and take all his message to Lanka? He has to impress upon the bird. He tells, Kalye senam kapikulapati sturnam adyojayishya dyuri bhava janaka duhidu duyamanantaratma krida khelam kamalasarasi kwapi kalopayatam Raka Chandradyuti Sahachari Rajahamsam Dadarsha. He saw Rajahamsam, the king amongst all the Hamsas. He called that Rajahamsa. Please take my message to Sita. The bird asked, who are you first of all? I am Mr. D. Ram, son of Dasharatha. My wife has been kidnapped. So what should I do? Asked the bird. You have to take my message that your husband is coming. Why should I do it? It is an Indian bird. What benefit I will get out of it? Just like that, I am not here to do community service. What will I get in return? See, when Arjuna had to ask question after question to Krishna, finally Krishna explains. First of all, Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna felt was very confusing. Even we feel. The question was whether I should fight the Kauravas or not. What should Krishna say? Either fight or don't fight. He starts Karma Yogam, Chaturvidha bhajante mam janaha sukritino junaha artaha jignasurartharti jnani cha varadarshava. This is karma yogam, that is jnana yogam, this is devasura vibhaga yogam, this is vishwarupodhyaya. Arjuna forgot what was the question. I asked you a question whether I can fight them or not. This is the case in most discourses also. What is today's in Vibhishana Sharana? Vibhishanare inno barli. He will come after interval. Picture baki hai mera dost. So Arjuna gets confused. Then he finally tells Krishna, your speech was excellent. You tell me what I have to do. 18th chapter. Krishna says, see, I might have explained Bhakti Yoga in detail, Arjuna. For a moment, feel that you may not be the right recipient to that yoga. Sarva dharman parityajya. What should I do, Krishna? Mam ekam sharanam vraja. You hold and regard me alone as the soul's refuge. What will you do in return? Aham tva sarva papebhya. I shall eliminate all the sanchita karma that you have accrued. Arjuna said, well, my account balance, you are removing it. What will I get in hand? After the tax goes, what will I get in hand? Moksha ishyami, I will give you moksha. So the bird had to be impressed. Rama tells, see, Vedodvanva vibhajana vidau vamshajam vishwamurtehe. Hey Rajahamsa, you are the Vahanam to Brahma, the creator of this world. His wife also uses you. Most women, when they walk, we say Hamsagati. You are being compared to the gate to the most beautiful women in the world. Hey Hamsa, remember that anything in this world which needs a sattva guna is compared to a Hamsa. Hamsa, I will tell you one more thing. When my beloved Sita was abducted, you were found in her sari border. Taddakulanka murtau tanmanjira prathamanинade nyasya nishpanda drishtihi. Then the bird says, okay, I will go. Then Rama tells, see, I have got a first-hand information from Hanuman who has visited Lanka. Now I can prepare a travel advisory. Take the western route and don't take the eastern route and not the western route. Western route you go, I believe that this is near Malaya Parvata, Western Ghats. So you will have lot of air turbulences. Go via the eastern route. So from Bellary, Karnataka, I don't know how many of you know the map. From Bellary, the bird has to fly. Now Vedanta Deshika describes what all places you will come across. So you will come across Karnatandhra Vyadikaravashat Karbhure Giti Bhede. Look at Vedanta Deshika's poetry. 750 years before. You will cross that particular district, which is the border of Andhra and Karnataka. Karnatandhra Vyadikaravashat Karbhure Giti Bhede. There the women who come to the sugarcane fields will be talking a language which is neither Telugu nor Kannada. Karnatandhra Vyadikaravashat, when you are in the border of any state, your language will be a combination of both these languages. You may be wondering, sir, was all that there 750 years before? Yes. In one of the kavyams called Lakshmi Sahasram, Lakshmi's tongue, how red it is, the poet says, like the people of Andhra who have spicy food. It is there in the kavyam. We have, even our cuisines are very old. Now, now the bird is asking, after that what will I get? Then you will come across a beautiful Parvatam which is like Seshachalam. There you will see Venkateshwara. That Venkateshwara has not come by then. Remember when Rama says Venkateshwara was not there. But that mountain was there. So he tells, Hamsa, do a namaskaram to that mountain because that mountain is going to house one of the most prettiest forms of the Lord. Everything in the future tense. Then he tells you, go further south to Tirumala Tirupati, you will see a Swarna Mukhari. Swarna Mukhari is Swarnamukhi river. There the beautiful flowers will get collected in one particular place, where Lord Kalahastishvara can do Archana looking at the Lord of Tirumala from there. And then he continues, you go further south, you will come across Tondai Desham, which is called Pallava Desham, Kanchipuram. There you will see above the hillock of Hastigiri, the Lord of Varadaraja. Vedanta Deshika tells, it seems the Lord and the Lordess were walking by the gardens. See, I know that this may be slightly away from Ramayana, but I want to give you a flavor as to how poems go. So the Lord will hold the hand of Mahalakshmi, Perundevi there, and walk by the garden. Because of the heat of Kanchipuram, it seems she will start sweating. But her hand, when he holds it like this, it looks like an inversed lotus bud. So as he holds her, the sweat will turn into ambrosia, and that will turn into a small rivulet, and all the little birds will come and feed on it, it seems. This is how poetry goes. This is imagination. Then he tells what all happens in Pallava Desham. And then he goes to the Chola Desham, which is the land where Kaveri flows. So there, Vedanta Deshika tells what Rama tells the Hamsa. Yushmat Asmat Kuladhanataya Purvasaketa Bhajam. Hey Hamsa, there you will come across a small Peetham where on both sides Kaveri river flows. That is called Sesha Peetham. Get down there and do Namaskaram, because my Kuladaivam called as Ranganatha will be coming very soon to that place. Asmat Yushmat Asmat Kuladhanataya Purvasaketa Bhajam. He tells at one place, do not get into an argument with the women of the Chola country. He tells, women of the, men are okay. Women of the Chola country, don't get into an argument with them. Your mission is to go and see Sita. Immediately Hamsa is why? Kupyat choli vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. If you talk to one of the women of the Chola country where Kaveri flows and get into a bitter argument, they will hit you back with equal arguments, and their words will be so twisted like the curls of the hair of Ranganatha. So you have to be very careful with women of Erode, Karur, Srirangam, Trichy, Tanjavur, Kumbhakonam, Mannargudi. Tamil Nadu has a great experience. Mayavaram, Sirgari. In a good sense, they won't take anything at face value. They will give that back to you. Kupyat Choli, not Chola. Choli, the women. Vachana Kutilaihi. Their words will be so twisted that to understand you need one day. What did she say? Like the curly hair locks of Ranganatha. Kupyacholi vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. Then the bird has to go further south. While going in Tondai Mandalam, in Kanchipuram, Vedanta Deshika gives a beautiful description. He tells, oh Hamsa bird, you are white in color. Now, while you are going, the Bandhu Jiva flowers will be blossoming. Bandhu Jiva flowers are red in color. So the pollens of Bandhu Jiva will also be red in color, and they will all, there's a pollination happening that will all get fluttered in the air. Now, those red pollens will come and get attached to your white body, Hamsa. But you may be worrying, oh, is this dirt? No, no, no. You're going by a Kanchipuram, so it is very similar to Lord Shiva. How? Because Shiva lives in the white peaks of Kailasha. And on him, in his matted hair locks, comes Ganga, which is also white in color. So there, if you have the red pollen on you, it is similar to the red pollen what Shiva has on his head. Because every night he is doing massage service to Kamakshi. So her red lac from the feet will get attached to his head. So you look like Lord Shiva, so don't think this is wrong. Paryaptam te pavana charitai rangaragam paragaihi sthane kuryut samasamudayan bandha jivo bandhu jiva yena veshyasya chalatanaya padalakshanu shaktam Chudachandram Puravijayinaha Swarnadipena Purvam. So as you continue your journey, you go via Pandya Desham, Ishadastrya Nadigata. I don't know where to stop Hamsa Sandesham. I have a great affinity to the Kavyam. Ishadastryan Adhigatavatam Kshatriyanam Prabhavat Karavasa Smarana Chakitei Siktasasyam Parayodaihi Pashyanyaya Paramalakaya Spardhamanai Rajastram Chuda Chandram Rajahamsam Dadasha. There's a beautiful shloka on Pandya Desham. So he talks about what all Divya Deshams the bird will go across. Then he says, then you have to cross the oceans. That time you will come across a mountain. What is the name? Mainakam. So because Hanuman has given an account, he tells that mountain will tell you, please take rest and go. Honor him and take rest. Hanuman did not take, you take rest. Then you will go further south. You will reach Lanka, but now Lanka will be in the process of being reconstructed because my dear friend Hanuman has burnt that city. So you may not get a proper map. The GPS will not show you the right location because there will be a lot of renovation happening there. He tells, Bhasatadrit parinatirusha maithili shokavanye. But you may be wondering, Hamsa, how did the city get burnt? The fire that lit Lanka was not the fire which Hanuman lit. It is the fire caused by the separation of Sita from me. Yachoka vanyam janakatmajayaha. That sorrow which led to fire is what that has burnt. It is the fire caused by the separation and not what Hanuman did. They cannot file an FIR on him. So you will go further. That time you will see the jewel of Ikshvaku Kulam called Sita. Now you seem to be a bit haughty, Hamsa, that you are the prettiest of them all. You see her for once and then message me from there if it is worth the watch. There you will see Sita holding my ring time and again and putting it to her chest because Hanuman has already given. Now the bird asks, what will I finally get? Everything I will do. What will I get? This bird was a bachelor bird. Rama said, you will get the best counterpart in your life. You will get married very soon. Free service. He said, okay, I will do. Itham hridyai janakatanayam jivayitva vachobhis sakhyam pushyan nidaya karatule dipyamanair narendraha swairam lokan vicharanikhilan saumya lakshmeva vishnu sarvakaras padanugunaya sevito rajahamsya. So it is often said by acharyas that whoever reads Hamsa Sandesham or listens to it, if at all there are children who are of the marriageable age in your family and they have to find better partners themselves or they want your assistance, they will get the rightful better partners, better halves very soon by this. Now don't go and immediately check. Give it a few days time. It will take a few days for it to act. Now Rama comes and comforts. Now we are back from Hamsa Sandesham to Ramayanam. Rama has conveyed all this information over the night to the Hamsa. Now on the other hand, in Lanka, Ravana has called for a huge boardroom meeting. He tells, Dharshita cha pravishta cha Lanka dushprasaha puritena vanara matrena drishta sita cha janaki. It was a big blot in Ravana's career. He used to go physically assault women, go fight the kingdoms with no previous notice or warning and used to win over them. He tells, Vanara Matrena, one monkey came and has burnt my entire city. What an insult it must be to him. Such great security intel services in his country. One monkey comes, burns the entire city, and he says, Drishta Sita cha Janaki, and that monkey is successful because it has seen Sita. What a blot it is on my career. He goes further to state, Tarishyati cha suvyaktam raghavaha sagaram sukham tarasa yukta rupena sanujasabalanugaha. From this I can conclude, oh my ministers of the Lanka cabinet, that Very soon Rama will come along with his brother to this city. This is my prediction. He says, Sanujaha sa balanujaha samudram soshiyati viryen. If he is not able to cross the ocean, my presumption is, if my prediction goes right, he will be even able to dry up the oceans to meet her. Because one monkey has been able to spot her, will that husband not be able to come? Karotiva tasmin nivedhe karye viruddhe vanaraisaha. I have to do something now. It is high time. This is a huge security breach in our country. How did 3 fortresses of water, mountains and forests be crossed by an after all monkey who has seen Janaki, burnt my country, gone back successfully? Now what will happen to me? At that point where he said, his ministers, his words were in such a way that he was about to submit. But there will be supporters, right? They said, oh, what sir, you have won Bhogavati. You remember in 1945, you won over Bhogavati. In 1947, you took away the wife of that king. All his achievements, these are the achievements. One says, you took away the wife of that man. You went to Bhogavati and took the wife of Takshaka. You remember that day? It was a fine evening. These are the achievements he is giving. You took away you killed the husband of your own sister. There was a sister called Kumbhinashi. His sister's husband, Ravana killed. So you did all this. You remember Ravana? Ravanaha Rakshaseshwaraha. You are R.S. Manohar. Rajana pada yukteyam agata prakrita jana. You can surely kill that. Rama is what? 2 hands he has got, it seems. No ornaments. He is walking. He doesn't even have a ratham. You can kill him. Don't worry. Hridina iva tvaya karya tvam vadhishyasi raghavam. Vibhishana gets up. Thank you, ministers. Ravana, I have to tell you one thing. How can you win over Rama when you have not won over anger? Look at this statement. When you cannot control your anger, how can you win over somebody else? Rama will easily come and win over you because you have not won over anger. Look at the connection he makes. Apramattam katham tam tu vijigishum bale sthitam jitarosham duradarsham tam darshayitum ichchata. My view is completely opposite to what the other ministers have told Ravana. I am your brother. In my experience of foreign affairs, I can tell you, this is one situation that no country has ever seen. One ambassador comes in the mid of the night, there is a surgical strike, he burns the entire city, goes back, meets the particular target, there is an exchange of dialogues between the two, he comfortably goes back, and we are happily sitting here telling that we will win. How will we win? My prediction, Ravana, Vibhishana tells, Rama is a man of great conduct, character. What does he mean? You are not one. See, there are ways of talking. You don't have to tell the opposite person very openly that this person doesn't possess that. Avar romba nallavar. Means what? The person standing opposite me has to think twice and improve himself. Avathila shapadu eppadi irukum? Romba nalla pannuva andha mami. Na mathla sumaranu. Tam nam tu kshamam viryavada tena dharmanuvartina. That man Ravana follows dharma. In my prediction, if you believe in my prediction, he can easily come and win over you. I don't want you to lose in this battle. Ravana, even now there is time. Give back Maithili. She is not yours. She is not ours. She is somebody else's wife. You have committed a grave mistake. Give back Janaki to Rama. Purinda arayate banai diyatamasya Maithili. Diyatamasya Maithili. Give her back. It is okay. We'll do some damage control mode. We will get into it. We'll somehow spot a way. Now, as soon as Vibhishana tells this, there is not much of reaction. Ravana keeps looking at him. Over. Now Vibhishana wants to further get persuasive. He tells, I have to tell you one thing, Ravana, honestly. Many people will tell, honestly to tell you, is there any other choice? To be frank with you. What else choice? What other choice you have? You have to be frank in life. So he said, I have to tell you one thing, Ravana. The moment Sita stepped into this Lankan territory, our Sensex has come down. Stock market, people have lost close to $6.72 billion. The moment she has stepped in, I heard that there are unseen floods in many places. Unprecedented floods. Crops have gone away. Farmers are to be given compensation. There is no money in our forex. All that he tells. Why? He tells, Yada prabhriti vaidehi samprapteha parantapa tada prabhriti drishyante nimittan ashubhani cha. Everything inauspicious is happening. Lakshmana, Vibhishana tells about Sita's presence. What do we say? Attittagalada bhaktara maneyolu nitya mahotsava nitya sumangala satyavatoruva sadhu sajjanara siddhati holayuva puttali bomme bhagya da Lakshmi Baramma. Yesterday also many people said Lakshmi Baramma. We are telling Lakshmi come inside. Vibhishana tells the moment this Lakshmi came, all these things are happening. Why? Because for him the thought was, at least by telling this will Ravana give her back or not. There was no reaction. Ravana tells, now you, all of you ministers, tell me what I have to do. In most companies, brainstorming should happen before the product is created. It won't happen. The product will be launched, then the product life cycle, it will fail. Then there will be one big meeting. Why the product failed? There will be 2 days workshop for that. Kyun fail hua? So now here Ravana is asking, why? You tell me a solution. Why Lanka is facing this crisis? That time Kumbhakarna comes. He tells, Yada tu Ramasya sa Lakshmanasya prasahya Sita khalu sahiha krita sakrit samakshaiva sunishchitam tada bhajeta chittam yamuneva yamunam. He tells, you are asking us this question, what should be done now? Correct, Ravana? You should have ideally asked us this question before kidnapping Sita. What should I do? Whether should I kidnap or not? How many of you say yes to kidnapping? How many of you say no to kidnapping? You should have asked. You took all independent decisions. And now after all the damage has been done, now you are asking what to do. In fact, when you read original Ramayana, Kumbhakarna is a very, very logical person. When Ravana forces him, go to the battlefield, he tells, see, I am your brother. After all, I am your brother. I have to defend you. But Ravana, mark my words. Today I shall die at the hands of Rama, like how you will be dying tomorrow. He leaves this place. Andal had great respect for Kumbhakarna. She tells, Pandorunal Kutrattin Vai Vilda Kumbhakarnanum Totrumunakke Peruntuildan Tandano. She ends up waking the women of her Agraharam to observe the vow of Katyayani Vratam, which later became Pavai Nombu. One girl refused to wake up. She was in such deep slumber. At that point in time, Andal says, probably the demon called Kumbhakarna, who was at war with Ravana before dying, must have given the biggest of his assets to you, because the biggest asset what Kumbhakarna possessed was sleep. He told Rama, come here, I want to distribute my property, I want to write my will. Rama said, how do you want to distribute your assets, which is sleep, slumber? 99% of my sleep should be given to the girl who will be born during the times of Andal. That is why Andal tells, oh, this sleep Kumbhakarna has given you. Pandorunal Kutchattin Vaivirinda Kumbhakarananum Totrumunakke Perunduyildan Tandano. Then Rama, being the mathematical person that he was, okay, there's a 1% remaining, Kumbhakarna, whom should I give? Give it to all the audience of SSVT on the Saturday afternoon. Till now, I've seen 7 people. 7. I don't want to tell who they are. See, the beauty is, those who have gone into that Parabrahma Chintanam, if they have to wake up during a lecture, the next thing they'll do is nod their head. To just tell the person who's delivering, actually I'm listening. Then I know what transpired before. So Kumbhakarna tells this. After that, Indrajit gets up. Indrajit is one of the valorous sons of Ravana. Kimna mateta kanishthavakyam anarthagam vai bahubhitavajja asmin kule yopi bhavenna jataha sopi drisham naiva vadenna kuryat satvena viryena parakramena dhairyena shauryena cha tejasa cha ekakulesmin purushon vimukto vibhishanastata kanishtha. He tells, my dear Chittappa. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ? ಚಿಕ್ಕಪ್ಪ. തെലുഗുലോ ഏമണ്ടി? ചിന്നനാന. മലയാള എന്താണ് ശബ്ദം? പറയാ. മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്താണ്? അച്ഛനിന്റെ ഒരു ചിന്നച്ചൻ. ചിന്നച്ചൻ, ചിക്കപ്പ, ചിന്നനാന, then ചിത്തപ്പ. ഹിന്ദിയിൽ തന്നെ ചാച്ച. So he said, I don't know, now it is Singalam, right? Oh, these are all languages of India, and Sinhalese, I don't know what is the word. He said, my dear uncle, English is the best. Whether it is fathers, elder brothers, younger brother, mother's younger brother, elder brother, ekameva advitiyam uncle. In Bharata Desham, that is why even the chips is called by that name. So, he said, my dear uncle, you are a person who has been living amidst us, living because of us, but is acting absolutely against us. We are very, very unfortunate to have a person like you. Shurpanaka gives him a certificate, Vibhishanastu Dharmatma. That Dharmatma isn't liked by Indrajit. What should Ravana tell? He is a good father. See, we may have differences of opinion, but he is elder to you, learn to respect. Ravana says, I second Vibhishana. He tells, if you do not wish to stay with us, don't stay. He tells, if you don't wish to stay with us, don't stay. But don't give these wrong suggestions. How can I give back Maithili to the prestige issue? Right? How can I give her back? Vibhishana tells, now has come the time. I have, as a brother, advised you what is dharma. I did my duty. But you are not walking on the path of dharma, Ravana. You are not walking. Sattvam bhrantosi me rajan bruhimam yadi yachasi jeshto manyaha pitrusamo nacha dharmapate sthitaha. I thought you to be my father. Jeshto brata pitrusamaha. Ihahi parusham vakyam nakshamam yagrajasyate. Ravana, I know one thing. You know, elders have been telling time and again, parantakalehi gadayusho nara hitam na grinhanti suhridbiriritam. If time has come for one person to suffer, how much ever people around him or her advise, that they will never heed to those advices. Parantakale, if you have to suffer, the first thing is you will discard somebody giving a suggestion. I know. Who are you to tell? That I know is enough. I know may seem like a statement which defines one's confidence. No. In Bharata Desham at least no. In Indian culture, no. It may be words that speak about one's independence. I know. In that I know itself, Acharyas say that you don't know. You know, Upanishad says one thing. Who has seen Parabrahma? For which Upanishad says, the one who says that I know hasn't seen. The one who says I wish to know will see. So it is a continuous process of knowing. So he says, Parantakalehi gadayusho nara hitam na grinhanti suhridbhiriritam. You will not listen to my advice, Ravana, because your Antakalam has come. And you have said, why do you stay with us? With all these words being said, I don't have to stay with you. So Ravana said, in that case, you have to abandon everything that you possess. Vibhishana said, what? This 3-bedroom house you have given with the basement, I will leave it right away. You have given some share certificates for me, ESOPs, I will give that right away. Let my children live here. They may be attached to you, this is their country, they may be attached to it. I leave everything. He said, I will leave everything right away. And he left. Ityuktva parusham vakyam ravanam ravananujaha ajagama muhurtena yatra ramasa lakshmanaha. The moment Vibhishana left, 4 people said, sir, we concur with your thoughts. We were watching that board meeting stream live. We found your arguments to be very valid. So we wish to join your party. Will you be beginning a party soon? So Chaturbihi Saharakshasaihi, 4 Rakshasas joined Vibhishana. Techapya anucharas tasya chatvaro bhima vikramaha tepi varma yudhopeta bhushanottama vibhushita. They started their journey to Bharata Desham, Citizenship Amendment Act. People from the neighboring countries are coming. What to do now? They said they are coming. Now, Rama along with Sugriva and the other monkeys from Bellari has walked all the way via Bengaluru, Anantapura district, then Coimbatore, Karur, Tiruchirappalli, Tanjavur, then he has come further south, Pudukottai, then further south to Ramanathapuram and has come and reached the tip of that particular coastline. They are confused what to do now. They don't know they don't know the exact directions also. What to do next? That time, while small tents were constructed for Sugriva, Rama, Lakshmana, the monkeys, lakhs of them were standing on different hills, different places, filled with monkey armies. The moment they saw these 4 Rakshasas marching along with Vibhishana, they immediately gave one signal. They whistled. Immediately all the monkeys started whistling and Sugriva comes out. Yesha sarva yudhopetas chaturbihi saharakshasaihi chintayitva muhurtam tu vanaras tanuvajaha. They started taking one stone in their hands. Let him come. They started uprooting the tree. They were holding the tree. One was holding one stone. Like that, lakhs of stones. Let him come. Stone pelting we will begin. This was not even the northern tip of Bharata Desham. It is the southern tip. Sarvacha mahaprajnaha sverena mahata mahan. Now Vibhishana said, wait. Let's not go ahead. They are getting a bit perturbed with our presence. Then Sugriva comes. Hey, Talaiva is coming. Wait, Talaiva is coming. All the monkeys are giving way. Talaiva is coming. Singanadai potu. With the gait of a majestic lion, he comes. He looks at the monkeys and then at Vibhishana and says, who are you? Sarvacha mahaprajnaha sverena mahata mahan. He had to shout because he had to be audible. Sugrivam tamscha samprekshya kasthayeva vibhishanaha. Now Vibhishana starts talking. Ravano nama durvritto rakshaso rakshaseshwaraha. There is one Rakshasa, the king of Rakshasas, a man of bad conduct, Durvritta. His name is Ravana. Tasyaham anujo bhrato Vibhishana iti shrutaha. I am born as the younger brother of that king. My name is Vibhishana. Sachana pratijagraha ravanaha kalachoditaha uchyamanam hitam vakyam viparita iva ushadham. Time has come for his destruction. He is not listening to anybody's good suggestions. Soham parushitasthena dasavachavvamanitaha tyaktva putranscha daranscha raghavam sharanam gataha. I have abandoned all my riches, all my possessions, even my family, even my children. And I just know one thing. Raghavam sharanam gataha. I have come seeking refuge at Raghava's feet. Nivedayata mam kshipram vibhishanam upasthitam. Go fast, Sugriva. Please go fast and tell Rama that Vibhishana has come. Nivedayata mam kshipram. Go fast. Vibhishanam upasthitam. You know why I have come? Sarvaloka sharanyaya raghavaya mahatmani. After having known that in the world anybody can abandon, but Raghava will not abandon his devotees, I have come with that particular confidence. Please go and tell him now. Why that now? That is very, very important. Especially in all sampradayams it is there, but in Sri Vaishnava sampradayam the concept of Sharanagati has been researched. You know, in Tamil there is a word Pullinjutar. Vedanta Yeshika and Ramanuja have gone so deep into Sharanagati that if you look at their works, you need, we used to learn about 5 to 6 years about Sharanagati from our Acharya in the traditional Gurukulam pattern. You may think Sharanagati means what? A surrender. Even the person who goes to the jail, he says, I surrender. No. There is so much anukulyasya sankalpam pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishwasaha gopritva varanam karpanyam atmanikshepe. It is a big philosophy in itself. Well, he tells, Kshipra, go now. Why? There is one beautiful anecdote which I would like to state. 1000 years before, in Bharata Desham was born a great revolutionary, a social reformer and a philosopher par excellence called as Bhagavad Ramanuja. We recently celebrated his 1000th year. His Sishya was Kuresha. If I tell so many names, you will get confused. But there is no harm in getting comfortably confused. Right? So his Sishya was Kuresha or Kurattalvan. Kurattalvan's sons were 2 in number. One was called Parashara Bhatta and second was called Vedavyasa Bhatta. Kuresha's classmate who also learned under Ramanuja was Yambar. Now, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, there is a ritual called as Pancha Samskaram, which is called Shankha Chakra Lanchanam. It is also called Samashrayanam. During that ritual, the Acharya will teach the student, the Sishya, 3 Rahasyas. Ashtaksharam, Dvayamaha Mantram, Charama Shlokam. It is called Rahasya Trayam. And the meaning of that has to be taught to the student so that the student understands, internalizes the connection between Jivatma and Paramatma. Then the student will take up to the concept of Sharanagati. After understanding all this, the student will perform Sharanagati, stating that at the end of this Janma, hey Lord, please ensure that my Jivatma gets out of this body. Because there is a process called Tristuna Kshobanam in Vedanta. How the Jivatma exits the body. See, first of all, we all act through our senses. Right? We see, we hear, we smell, we taste. These are all Jnanendriyas. Because it is the mind which tells you what you are smelling. Remember this. Your nose is not telling you. The brain is the one that is telling you, masala vada hai. Brain tells that. Nose doesn't say. Nose is just the medium. That is why during that vyadhi that came now, the smell will go, right? So the brain will tell. That is jnanendriyam. There is karmendriyam as well. So you have hands, you have legs. These are all karmendriya. There is some action that is performed. That is why in certain diseases, the brain may not immediately tell the hand to or the leg to walk. That is called bradykinesia or akinesia. That's when you give a levodopa in Parkinson's, right? So this is karmendriyam, this is jnanendriyam. I'm not getting deep into Vedanta. That will take another full day for me to explain how from Mahat all these have evolved. Now, generally, how these have evolved during our birth and sustenance, they will start dysfunctioning the similar way when the Jivatma has to exit. Now you don't tell me if a person dies in a plane crash, what will happen? In natural disaster and calamities, it's not there. It's called Adhyatmika, Adidaivika and Adibhautika. You may die because of an earthquake. We don't know what is in store for us. But generally, that is why we take Tirtham in the temple thrice to ward off that Adhyatmika Tapam. We should not die in some flood or something. So naturally, when we die, there is believed in Shastram called as Tristhuna Kshobanam, the backbone. Through the backbone, we understand a snake that goes into a yoga called Kundalini. That Kundalini gets into the Chakram, Agnya Chakram, Sahasrapura Chakram. Then you've got all that people who are devotees of Parvati will know. In Lalita Sahasranam, Agnya Chakranthala, Rasta, Rudra Grati Vivedi, Manipura, Janalaya. So you get Manipurakam, Agnya Chakram and all that. These are all Chakrasthanams for Kundalini, which is a snake. And Vedanta tells there is this backbone. I cannot, there is no PPT here. Understand, there is a Tristhuna Kshobanam. It will be like 3 rods. Now, when the karma tells that the Jivatma has to exit, there will be some preparation time. Now, below Dashangulam, from here if you check, there is believed to be one inverted lotus. Now don't tell me I underwent bypass, I didn't see the lotus. It is Shatadha, Shatadha, Shatada. It is 10 power minus 6. 1 by 100 by 100 by 100. 10 power minus 6 is its size. So it will not be visible in the monitor in open heart surgery. There is a lotus which is inverted, from which there will be nadis coming out. The first 100 and there will be 101th nadi. The 101st nadi is called Sushumna. So the Jivatma, if it exits in the first 100 nadis, then it will go through the path of smoke. It's called Dhumadi Margam. So that if it goes through the first 100 nadis and Dhumadi Margam, there is bound to be another birth. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Only if it exits through the 101st nadi called Sushumna, there is only one path of light called Archiradi Margam and there is no rebirth. Now we have, sir, वो आत्मा को कैसा पता चलेगा कि कौन से रूट में जाना है? GPS is not there. Take 101. Will it tell that? How to do? That is why Sharanagati has to be performed. Sharanagati, which is Nyasa Yoga, which is one of the 32 Brahma Vidyas, Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam. Why am I creating that base? Then only you will understand Vibhishana Sharanagati. Now you may be wondering, sir, other days it was like a story. Today you are dealing with Vedantam. Vibhishana Sharanagati is the pinnacle, the Ucham of Uchasthai, you call it in Carnatic music. It is the pinnacle of Vedanta. Until you understand this concept, you cannot understand Sharanagati. Now, the Sharanagati, which is Nyasa Yoga amongst the 32 Brahma Vidyas, says that during the Sthula Dasha, Sthulam is this body, gross state. If you perform Sharanagati with the 5 Angas and Angi, which is Atma Samarpanam as the core, then the Jivatma will be guided on the 101st Nadi. You may have a question. Sir, have you seen it? No. But that is where Shastram tells, Shastra Vedmi Janardanam is a statement. Remember this. Divinity cannot be explained through logical reasoning beyond a point. Get this fact right. Sanatana Dharma is very clear in this. You may have people, okay, the world has been created, next. They may keep asking you questions and you may want to become the advocate of Sanatana Dharma, defending it. Beyond a certain point, you cannot defend. That time Shastram tells, Shastrat Vedmi Janardanam. That point when logical reasoning cannot be deployed to understand, the only way to believe is through scriptures. You have to believe in it. Now you may say, I don't want to believe. That is, again, Sanatana Dharma doesn't say that you should